Back, boxing fans. So I was watching Round One Sports Talk. He's a big Inoue advocate. He talks about Inoue a lot. In this video, he's talking about some of the negativity that Floyd Mayweather recently put out with regards to Inoue, which is not unusual. Floyd is known worldwide as a cap artist. That's what he's always done. To keep himself relevant, he continues to mention himself in connection with whatever fighter is top in the sport, no matter how ridiculous a statement it is that he makes. Think about the irony in this situation. Floyd Mayweather coming out and talking about Inoue not fighting in the US enough and needing to come to the US to get drug tested and do all of this kind of crap, right? Coming from Floyd, a guy who got caught by the testing organization with an IV in his arm in his house, which is against protocol, but we'll ignore that, right? The reason why we do that is so that when they do test you, it blocks any drugs you may have used. That's why it's illegal. Obviously, taking saline in your body is not something that's going to benefit you as an athlete, but what it's used is to mask any other potential drug you have been using. So that's why WADA protocol has it illegal, and you can only use a certain amount of it. Floyd used far more of it. You also have to go to a medical establishment to get it done. Floyd had them do it in his house. So there was a lot of curious situations, and obviously Vegas didn't release any of this information until months after the Manny Pacquiao fight. Another interesting sort of issue. If they had nothing to hide and Floyd wasn't doing anything illegal or wrong, then why did it take months before this actually came out? Ask yourself that question. But this is the guy who comes out now and is trying to discredit Inoue. I mean, I know the people that make these statements, they've never left America, they don't have passports, they've never traveled, so they don't know fucking jack shit from fucking anything. If you go to Japan, Japan is very stringent with drugs and anything of that nature. And obviously being an island, it's very easy to control your borders, right? Taiwan is very similar as well. You don't have a lot of anabolic steroids being used in Japan, right? Because unless it's being prescribed from a doctor or somehow you have great gangster connections, you probably don't have access to any illegal drugs. It's not as rife as it is in America, where you have Mexico just across the border, where you can easily buy PEDs, steroids, or whatever else, and easily bring them across the border. People do it all the time. It's a very normal sort of process within the States. In Japan, you can't do that. You don't have a border you can drive over. You have to fly into Japan, which means you got to go through customs, and it brings in dogs and testing and checking your suitcases and a lot more potential issues that you have to deal with. But Floyd coming out with this, saying that Inoue needs to fight in the States. The irony in this statement is, ask yourself this: why did Floyd only fight in Vegas after a certain point of his career? The reason he did that is because he had hand issues. And the state of Nevada allowed him to use a particular drug that he could put into his hands, allowing him to fight and protect his hands and do something that other states wouldn't allow him to do. That's one of the main reasons, as well as obviously financial incentives that he got from casinos and whatnot to go to Vegas, and probably also tax reasons as well. I'm not sure what Vegas taxes are, but I would think very low. But this is a guy who never fought abroad, not until after he was retired. And since then, he's been traveling the world to make money, selling his name in fights that nobody gives a fuck about, trying to keep himself relevant, even though he no longer is relevant, right? The reality is, Inoue's fought around the world several times. He's even fought in the UK. He's also fought in the States several times, right? At this point, he's built his name up to the point where he does not need to travel anymore. Kind of like when Floyd was the pound for pound king of boxing and situated in Nevada, right? He did not need to go anywhere because everybody was going to go to him. That's where they were going to get their biggest purses. That's where the big opportunities were going to be. It's the same with Inoue. Inoue's just getting bigger and bigger in Japan every fight, right? His next fight against Luis Neri is going to be in front of potentially 55,000 people. Now just say that slowly. 55,000 people. The last time a boxer fought in the Tokyo Dome was Mike Tyson. Just let that resonate in your empty head for a while. Mike Tyson was the last boxer who fought in the Tokyo Dome. So it's obviously a huge situation for him to do that. And to be at a point where, they feel that they can use that venue and it makes sense because there's been no Japanese boxer that ever fought in the Tokyo Dome, right? None. Only the heavyweight champion, the baddest man on the planet who did it. And so obviously we understand why Tyson did it. Him going to Japan, they weren't going to have him go to Japan unless it was going to be a huge event. For Inoue, this is a career-defining moment for him. Not only does he have the chance to beat the crap out of Luis Neri, a guy who disrespected Japan and obviously Japanese iconic boxers, but he also gets an opportunity to fight in front of the largest crowd ever by a Japanese boxer. I mean, think about that. There's no current American boxers who are fighting in front of 55,000 people. None. And as I showed you in a previous video, a Japanese subscriber to my channel left a note of just, how people watch boxing in Japan and how it's showcased obviously on Japanese TV. And millions of people watch those fights. Millions of Japanese people. Not 500,000 or 200,000, or potentially if it's on free TV, maybe like 2 million. No. More people watch these events. And it wasn't just Inoue, because it was reported before Murata, one of his fights, there was 10 million people that watched it on TV. So 10 million Japanese people tuned in to watch Murata. Inoue is getting the same, if not more, attention in Japan. Obviously, when he fights, the advertisement is everywhere, as we saw on True School Sports' channel, when they were just showing all the posters all over the subway station and how much advertisement was really going into that fight. So ask yourself this question. Why does Inoue, at this point of his career, a 30-year-old, four-weight world champion, pound for pound top 3 at least, if you don't have him there, people just have to ask about your integrity as a boxing fan, and a guy who's a 2-weight undisputed champion. The only other male boxer to ever accomplish that, Bud Crawford, right? But yet Floyd Mayweather, he's trying to say that Inoue has to do this. And Inoue and his team and his fans, they don't give a fuck what Floyd has to say. Anything he says is irrelevant. Japanese people are very prideful people and very to themselves. So they're not going to be brought into any of this American BS that, primarily we see on YouTube. Because people outside of America don't give a fuck about all this ongoing, nonstop, racial fucking back and forth that American channels perpetuate consistently. I'll give you an example. Somebody wants to talk about how Charlo went to Africa. Well, the irony in that case is Africa is the same. They also don't give a fuck about that whole American racial sort of thing. I work with Africans, and they laugh at Americans and how cringeworthy they are on social media with these topics and these issues that they push. I'm telling you the truth. This is totally true. Just last week, Friday or Thursday, somebody was showing me a video and saying, what's wrong with Black Americans, right? She was watching some Black American girl, and I can't remember specifically what she was doing. And she's actually from the Caribbean, but my African co-workers are the same, right? They just see stuff that Americans do as so cringeworthy. And there's a lot of truth to that. That's how the world sees America generally, right? You can ask anyone who's not from America, their perspective on America, and they think America is a little too self-absorbed, right? And that's what we see in this kind of statement, where Floyd Mayweather is trying to say that Inoue needs to do this and needs to do that. No, he doesn't. Literally, none of the sanctioning bodies are going to order him to go fight in America. It's not going to be a necessity for him to defend his undisputed 122-pound titles, right? That's never going to be something sanctioning bodies ask him to do. Fighters at those weight classes they're not going to be in a position to push him or make him go to America to fight them, because none of them are bigger than him or draw as much money as him. So obviously they're going to get their highest paydays by going to Japan to face Inoue. At 122, this is the case whether we're talking about MJ Akhmedov, Luis Neri, or Casemiro. A Filipino guy would be more than happy to go to the Philippines, go from the Philippines to Japan to make millions of dollars, right? Neri is going to Japan to make his career high payday. He obviously has no issue with it at all. And obviously MJ Akhmedov would be the same, Eastern European from Uzbekistan. It's a very short flight from Uzbekistan to Japan. So I don't think he's going to have any second thoughts about going there as well. Then you go to 126, and who's the star in that division? There is no star. There's nobody in that division that comes it from a position of strength that can dictate or force Inoue to come to America to fight them. If Inoue goes to the Middle East, it's because he gets the kind of offer from the Middle East, the Saudis, that you just cannot turn down. If he goes to the States, it's not because he has to. It's because he feels that he wants to make a statement by going to the States and beating a guy who obviously has an American fan base, right? And the reality is, I don't know who that's going to be. Because if he didn't do it for Fulton, then who's he going to do it for? Figueroa? Does he have a big American fan base? Robsy Ramirez, a Cuban that lives in America. Does he have a big American fan base? Espinoza, the guy who beat Robsy Ramirez. I mean, people don't even know who he is. So the reality of the situation is, even at 126, Inoue's fifth weight division, there's nobody in a position to dictate to Inoue what he needs to do or where he needs to go and fight. And the irony is, when Americans say this, it's this American-centric, sort of ignorant perspective. Because when fighters go to America, they're going there because why? Opportunity, and the cash is better than where they would potentially make fights outside of the States. So they're going towards the money. This is the same with Americans now. If you want the money, you're going to go to Japan, because that's where the money is at 122, 126 pounds. Wherever Inoue is going, that's where the money is going to be. You need to have Inoue go up to 135 before you actually have an opponent who potentially might be in a position to have Inoue come to the States to fight him. And that would probably be Tank Davis. But even in saying that, Inoue probably wouldn't make more money fighting Tank Davis in the States. Maybe he would. But the reality of the situation is, that's really the only opponent that really comes from a position where Inoue would feel the necessity to actually go to the States to take on a challenge. And that's literally in his 7th weight division. 7. And 8 natural divisions that he's been through. So literally going through as many divisions as Manny Pacquiao did to get the type of opponent that actually could make the fight interesting enough and big enough where Inoue would potentially need to go to America to take on that fight. Because there's no one at 130, and there's no one at 126, and there's no one at 122, right? And for some Americans, I guess this is just a hard concept to grasp because of their self-absorption, where they just think everything revolves around America. Like I had Americans telling me where I live in Taiwan is a third world country. And it was like, dude, man, you never even been out of America. You don't even know what a fucking third world country is. You'd find parts of the States more third world than fucking Taiwan. Easily. There's shitloads of places in the States that are far more third world than fucking Taiwan is. Taiwan is far from third world. But this is the kind of ignorant stupidity you hear from people, right? Who just really don't know fucking anything. Never traveled, haven't read a book, just don't really have any true concept of what goes on outside their own fucking little bubble. But yeah, if you're a Inoue fan, you should check out Round 1 Sports Talk. He gets a lot of views. Obviously, he consistently talks about Inoue. So, give him a check out. See if you like him. he's fine. I mean, I think he probably should do content that's not just based on one particular fighter, but I think that's kind of his niche, and he figures that if he just jumps on that horse and rides it, he's going to get more attention. And getting 3,000 views for this video, obviously that shows that there's some truth to it, because it is what it is. He's got a better backdrop than me, but I think that's probably the only better thing about his channel. But that's just my ego stepping up. But you can tell me what you think. Leave your comments below. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. I'm getting close to that 150 mark. I still think, people, where's all my subscribers? I had almost 7,000 subscribers, and now I'm just at 150. I think I should easily be at 500 by now. But get the word out there. Tell them where to find me, and I'll keep putting out content. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your weekend. Big football game, Liverpool versus Arsenal tonight. Big game. If Liverpool wins, it's huge. If they lose, it really opens the door for Man City to take over. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, it's two very high-level teams. But see you next time. Peace out, everyone. And what the fuck's going on with Kentucky? They're driving me crazy.